Coach, if you'd like to begin.
All right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? All right, so obviously a lot going on here with Arizona football. The announcement today that Coach Baber will not be returning. I just want to let y'all know how much I care about Dino. Just an awesome human being, a fantastic football coach. I just, appreciate all the time and effort he put in to working with us and working with our coaching staff. It was always a 1 year deal with him, and I think, where we are right now gives us a chance to move on and kind of take the next step. And so, uh, you know, that part of it is exciting. It's always my job to, exhaust all options and all possibilities and do whatever we have to do to give us a chance to play the best football we can here at Arizona. In the announcement, we also talked about Coach Aquina is going to go back to, coaching the secondary. Dwayne and I sat down, had a great conversation. And I think he's going to go back to producing NFL defensive backs and where we get the value of his experience. No one's better at teaching and coaching the secondary than he is. And so I think that's going to be incredibly valuable for us. And then the last shift is that we're going to hire a full-time special teams coach. And I think that's something that's really important. I think it gets complicated when people are either an offensive coach or a defensive coach and trying to also coach the kicking game. And so I'm looking for someone that is just narrowly focused on that. And so this is where we're headed. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about what we're going to do and the people that we're going to talk to in this process. And I'm ready for your questions.
Please use the raise hand function before asking a question, and I'll call on you. Justin?
So Coach Brennan, what ultimately led to the decisions? I know that you said Babers was 1 year deal, but for Dwayne and Danny, what led to moving on from them as coordinators?
Well, I think obviously this is a result oriented business. You know what I mean? And there's a fine line there between like seeing the value and in what they bring because they're both outstanding coaches, and I think we all know that, right? But what we were doing was obviously not working, and so what are the determinations I can make in terms of giving us the best chance to move forward? And as we do that, as we look at the possibilities that are out there, it doesn't mean that we won't end up taking into consideration Danny's track record as a defensive play caller also, right? But in the meantime, it's my job to explore these options and to see what is out there that I think gives us a chance to be where we want to be.
Justin?
When you are looking for traits in an offensive coordinator and a guy who can run the offense, what are you looking for?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I want to find someone who's going to help the continued development of Noah Fafita. I think that's a big part of it. And I think that's something that, how do we help him elevate his game? Because we know when that happens, it'll help us elevate ours, right? And then I'm looking for explosive offense. So guys that have a track record of calling plays that can coordinate both the run and the pass game. I think that's really, really important. And and so that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Jason Shear?
Couple questions for you, Brent. The offensive coordinator, do you intend for it to be outside of the program?
I do.
In terms of that process, has it started? How far along do you think you are? Timeline?
Yeah, so obviously there's urgency to get that done, just with the intentions of working on roster retention and also getting moving on the transfer portal as that opens next week. Those conversations have started, and I'm hoping to move down to a short list that we can get some interviews going very quickly in the next couple days.
And then last one with the defensive coordinator, there's some ambiguity in there. Is there a chance a guy like Danny Gonzalez is promoted? Are you going to look outside the program? What's kind of your mindset, your approach to defensive coordinator?
Yeah, so I mean, Danny's an outstanding coach, and I absolutely think extremely highly of him. And so, we may end up going down that path, but in the short term, I got to look at everything I can. And so I'm looking outside the program, trying to find what I think is the best fit with the pieces we have and the coaching staff that we have in place. and trying to how do you bring all those things together and give us a chance to play better defense than we did this year.
Troy?
Coach, for the defensive coordinating spot, you talked about the offensive identity. What do you want the defense's identity to be moving forward?
Well, to not let people score touchdowns for starters. But no, I think, I always want to be in a situation where we are multiple in terms of the scheme, right? Like based out of both, playing out of both an odd end and even front, high pressure package, and then a great mixture of man and zone coverage. And some of those things are always based on your personnel, right? Can you get home with 4? Yeah, can you get to the quarterback with 4, or do you have to add bodies to that to get to the quarterback? And then what are you capable of playing behind it, right? So those things get tied together based on personnel, but like inside a scheme where we know we're going to change the timing of the quarterback and be productive getting in the backfield.
And then in terms of the defensive coordinating spot, how important is it for the person to be a recruiting savvy guy, a dynamic recruiter?
Well, you're always looking for that. Now, I will say I do believe in the people in this building right now as recruiters. I think some of that was easy to see yesterday with the talent that we brought in, but that's a really important thing. Every coach that's a part of our staff has to be a high level recruiter, but there's also a little flexibility with that now with the way NCAA is, kind of taking the on the field, off the field thing out, and you can designate recruiters. It's a much different world we're living in.
Michael, Lev?
Yes, hello. You made a reference to Noah Fafita and maybe getting the most out of him. Does that mean that he is definitely coming back to the program?
Every conversation I have with Noah has been really positive about him coming back, right? He still has not made that announcement public. He's taken some time to just step away. Obviously, the season was challenging on every level, and no one wears that burden heavier than Noah Fafita does, right? So he's just taking a break. I met with him on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I met with the leaders on the team on Sunday and Tuesday, and he was part of that group. And so he has every intention of returning, but we're going to I think who we hire here is going to have impact on that, right? Like he has to be excited about the person we bring in to be the play caller.
And then if Coach Aquina is moving back to a secondary role or a role with the secondary, what happens to Coach RC, Coach Viney, and are those things maybe a little more malleable now because they've loosened the rules about what analysts can do in terms of on-field coaching?
No, you're exactly right. They definitely are easier to move around. I think Coach Aquina will always have like the big view in the back end, which he's done for years, and no one's been better at that than he has. And then that's also going to give Coach RC and Coach Viney a chance to be heavily involved in the detail and the technical coaching and all those things. And so I'm really excited about how that's going to work with those three because, I think you have a great mix of like experience in Dwayne and then the youth and energy of Chip and Coach RC.
Jason Shear?
Do you anticipate all the position coaches returning?
I can't say yes or no to that right now, Jason, because we're still figuring out, who's coming in, right? Like whoever I'm talking to, and as that process goes, there can still be other things that happen down the road, or maybe not, right? The only thing that I know that I'm announcing today is what I've told you guys.
That's kind of what I was going to ask it, kind of hinting at. Like with an offensive coordinator, there's teams like Oklahoma, for instance, only hired the OC. If an OC wants to bring in a couple of his guys, how does that conversation kind of occur?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm optimistic that that whoever we bring in for that job will, want to talk about the guys that are here, possibly interview them. And then sure, he might have a guy or two that he wants to be a part of this and thinks will help us be successful. And that's something I have to listen to, right? I have to entertain that and see if that works.
Justin Spears?
So with the transfer portal opening on Monday, is it important to make these hires before then?
I don't think by Monday, but I think, soon. I think the most important thing is that we hire the best person we can for the job, right? And I don't want to accelerate that. Like some of the people that we're talking to are playing games this weekend, right? So like I got to be the most important thing is that I am diligent about this process, and I find the best person to bring in here for Arizona football. And I'm trying to do it on an accelerated timeline, right? But I also understand that the portal is going to be open for a good stretch there, and we can get done whatever we need to get done.
And why you mentioned Noah a lot in this conversation? Why is it important to get a guy that can really maximize him?
Because there's no position more important in all sports than the quarterback position. And I mean, to me, that the development there and the consistency there, like that is going to translate into us, winning football games next fall. And so getting the absolute most out of Noah, and that's what Noah wants too, right? Noah wants to play great football, and so I'm hell-bent on finding the best person to help move this offense forward with Noah Fafita as the guy playing quarterback.
Michael Lev.
Obviously, there are still some variables that are unknown at this point in terms of guys who might still enter the portal, who the coordinators are going to be. But all that being said, what would you say are the biggest positions of need for the team as you enter the portal period?
I would say offensive line, wide receiver, and defensive line.
David Kelly.
Coach, in terms of when you talk about Noah Fafita and what you want for him moving forward, what were some of the specific things you identified that you did not like about the way that things were transpiring with this offense this year?
Well, I think when you look at it, right, I said this is a result-oriented business, right? We didn't score enough points, right? In the simplest offensive football terms, like we need to be more productive that way. And I think it was hard. It was challenging for Noah because we had issues running the football and we had issues protecting him, right? Like if you can protect him, right, then he can deliver the ball. And we've seen how awesome he is at that. If you can run the ball, that also takes a little bit of pressure off the protection in the pass game. And so we've got a lot to fix.
Jenna Fink.
What have your conversations been like with Desiree through all of this? And, what's the balance of, how you approach the candidates that you're talking to?
I talk with Desiree 3 times a day about this. She's been great. I think that part of it is you want to work, in alignment with your athletic director. And so I talked to her right before I got on the Zoom. And so it's an ongoing discussion. You're going through candidates, talking about who the possibilities might be. And she's bouncing stuff back and forth off of me and vice versa. And so it's been really positive.